Very good morning, dear students. This is Sandeep Kumar, and I'll be continuing with the worksheet of the last class, that is alcohols, phenols, ethers. In the previous class, we had completed the discussion of alcohols and phenols, and ethers was remaining. So we'll complete ethers and then move on to our next chapter. Before I proceed with this, I have a small announcement to make. Hello. Okay. There may be some audibility issues. That will be set, right? Okay. The announcement that I wanted to make now is it has been found that some of you are cross chatting. You are chatting with your friends, you are commenting on answers. So please avoid it. This is done with a good intention. This entire program is done with a good intention. So, request from our side is that you have to make the best use of it. Okay. So please avoid cross chatting with your friends. Any queries, any question, you can post it. We will address it. But please don't indulge in chatting with your friends. That will distract you from the main objective. Okay. So hope this will not be repeated. Thank you. Okay. Continuing with ethers. Ethers are alkyl or aryl derivatives. And the general formula for ethers is ROR, where R can be a normal alkyl group or it can also be a benzene ring. Accordingly, you have aliphatic ethers and aromatic ethers. Okay. Now, if the two R groups are same, then the ether is symmetrical. If the R groups are different, then it is unsymmetrical. Okay. As you can check here, look at the examples. Examples nodi. In the first example, there is ethyl group on both sides. Ethyl and ethyl. Both are same. Therefore, this becomes a symmetrical ether. Okay. And look at the next example. In the next example, you have benzene ring on one side and alkyl group on the other side. They are different. Hence, it's an unsymmetrical ether. So, ethers are of two types. Ethers can also be cyclic. Look at the third example. This is a cyclic ether, symmetrical ether. This is broad classification of ethers. Okay. So remember, ethers are characterized by the presence of these two R groups. These two R groups. Okay. That's the classification part. Next. Nomenclature. How are ethers named? How to name ethers under IUPAC system? Under common system, you call them alkyl ethers. Alkyl groups na list ಮಾಡಿ alphabetical order ಅಲ್ಲಿ, then follow it up with the word ether. Okay, that's how you name it under common system. Under IUPAC system, ethers are treated as substituents, and the prefix for that is alkoxy. This is the secondary prefix for naming ethers. Secondary prefix for naming ethers. Okay. So you need to use the term alkoxy. If the group is OCH3, then you would call it methoxy. If the group is OC2H5, then it's called ethoxy. Okay. Likewise, you have propoxy, isopropoxy, and so on. So that's how you should name ethers. We have discussed this under our IUPAC nomenclature in the first worksheet also. So this is a sort of revision. So look at the first compound. One of the carbon atoms should be part of the main chain. So let's say this is the main chain and this becomes substituent. So this is the methoxy substituent. This is methoxy substituent. Main chain has one carbon, so it is methane. Hence the name methoxymethane. Similarly, let me take up example number 3. Look at example number 3. On one side, you have a chain of one carbon atom. On the other side, you have a chain of 3 carbon atoms. Between the two, which is the longer chain? Longer chain yadu? It's the chain of 3 carbon atoms. Hence, this becomes the principal chain from which you get the root word. which is propane. So this must be a propane. Okay. Then this becomes a substituent. Along with the oxygen atom, you take it to be the substituent. And that's the methoxy substituent again. Methoxy substituent. Hence you name it methoxypropane. Methoxypropane. So these are some sample compounds to be named, okay, under ethers, right? So practice these rules once again. Matte practice madi. I'll give you one more example. Just one more example. The last example. Here you have two alkyl groups again. One is methyl and this is isopropyl. Between methyl and isopropyl, which is bigger? Obviously the isopropyl chain with 3 carbon atoms. Hence this becomes the main chain. Then you treat this as a substituent, methoxy substituent agate, and it is present on which carbon atom? Let's number the chain. 1, 2 and 3. So the methoxy substituent is on the second carbon atom, and the longest chain here is prop, 3 carbons, so it's a propane. Because methoxy group is present on the second carbon, you will call it 2-methoxypropane. Methoxy on the second position. So these are some sample examples to name ethers. Be very, very careful while naming ethers. Okay. Yes. Next slide. Coming to methods of preparation of ethers. There are 2 methods of preparation prescribed in the NCERT syllabus. The first method is acid catalyzed dehydration of alcohols. See, this is something we also have seen with respect to alkenes. Okay. So if an alcohol like ethanol is strongly treated with sulfuric acid at a temperature of 443 Kelvin, remember this value 443 Kelvin, nenpitkobeku, okay? If you heat ethanol in presence of sulfuric acid to a temperature of 443 Kelvin, you end up getting ethene, an alkene. Hence, this reaction is an elimination reaction. This reaction is an elimination reaction. But now look at the difference. Same ethanol made to react with sulfuric acid at a slightly lower temperature of 413 Kelvin, the reaction takes a different path. It now becomes a substitution reaction, nucleophilic substitution reaction. Okay, and hence you end up getting ether. In both cases, water is removed. Both cases, it's dehydration. But in one case, in the first case, it is intramolecular dehydration, dehydration within the molecule. In the other case, it is intermolecular dehydration. Let me show that to you. C2H5 OH plus C2H5OH. Intermolecular dehydration. This is what happens. See this? Water molecule gets removed. And what do you end up getting? You end up getting diethyl ether, C2H5O, C2H5 plus water. Yes, this is one method of preparation of ether, but this method has some disadvantages. Disadvantages is there. What is it? You can't prepare unsymmetrical ethers. Unsymmetrical ethers prepare madakagalla. Okay. So to prepare unsymmetrical ethers, we have one more very popular method known as Williamson's ether synthesis. Very, very important from your entrance exam point of view. Both CET and NEET, this particular method is very, very important. Williamson's synthesis. Now, alkyl halides on reaction with sodium or potassium alkoxide. An alkyl halide with sodium or potassium alkoxide gives you ether. So here you have RO part coming from the alkoxide and R part coming from alkyl halide. Okay, very easy, very easy. The RO part, alkoxide, gives the RO part. The alkyl halide gives the R part. The two, when connected, it gives you ether. Okay. Yes. This also follows the nucleophilic substitution mechanism. O minus, Na plus, O minus attacking R, and halogen atom leaving. So this also is a nucleophilic substitution reaction. Nucleophilic substitution reaction. Yes. Okay. Now, a few more important points related to Williamson synthesis. Okay, these are some conditions you need to keep in mind. If you want to prepare ethers containing secondary or tertiary alkyl groups, secondary or tertiary, like the example here, you'll notice there is a tertiary alkyl group. This is a tertiary alkyl group. Tertiary alkyl group. Okay. Now, if you want to prepare ethers with tertiary or secondary alkyl group, you have to be very careful. You need to select a primary alkyl halide and involve it in a reaction with another alkoxide. The tertiary or the secondary group should become the alkoxide. Okay? The tertiary group or secondary group should become alkoxide or bulky alkyl group, bigger alkyl group should be the alkoxide, smaller R group or smaller alkyl group should be from the alkyl halide. Simple. Ee rule nenpitkolli. It's a very, very important point. Whenever you are preparing ethers with secondary and tertiary alkyl groups, remember, whichever R group or alkyl group is larger or bigger, you should take it in the form of alkoxide. Whichever R group is smaller, take it in the form of alkyl halide, because that's when SN2 reaction becomes easy. Steric hindrance is low. Steric hindrance is less. Okay. So to prepare something like this tertiary butyl methyl ether, you take tertiary butoxide and methyl halide. See, the bigger R group is the alkoxide. Now what if you take the reverse of it? Reverse what is the consequence? If you take the reverse, that is, if larger alkyl group is taken as alkyl halide and smaller alkyl group is taken as alkoxide, things will get completely changed. You end up getting an alkene, not ether. Alkene form agate in place of ether. So be careful. Okay, this rule is important. Bulky R group na yavaglu alkoxide ag tagoli, smaller R group na alkyl halide ag tagoli in Williams. Okay, right. In the same manner, you can also prepare aromatic ethers by taking sodium phenoxide. This is phenoxide. That's good. Okay, that's about Williamson's ether synthesis. Hope you have copied down this important rule. This is important. Please write it down, all of you. Okay, next. We have questions on methods of preparation of ethers. First question in ethers, and that is 24th question in the worksheet. Excess ethanol at 140 degrees Celsius, temperature is important, 140 degrees Celsius, reacts with concentrated sulfuric acid to give. Okay, remember 140 degrees Celsius. 140 degrees Celsius corresponds to 413 Kelvin. And at 413 Kelvin, what happens? You have substitution reaction taking place. So excess of ethanol, C2H5OH, in presence of concentrated sulfuric acid, concentrated H2SO4, at 413 Kelvin gives you diethyl ether, C2H5O, C2H5. If you carry out the same reaction at 443 Kelvin, what is formed? Ethene is obtained. Ethene formed. So be careful with the temperature. Okay, so since the temperature given is 413 Kelvin, the correct answer is an ether and not an ethene. Okay, so the correct option here is diethyl ether, option A or option 1. That's the correct option, diethyl ether. That was question number 24. Come to 25 now. Which of the following is the best procedure? Best procedure to make isopropyl methyl ether using Williamson's method. Okay, which is the best method to prepare isopropyl methyl ether using Williamson's method? First and foremost, you should write what is isopropyl methyl ether. Isopropyl methyl ether structure bariona. So one oxygen center. 1 second. Yeah, one oxygen atom in the center. On one side you have methyl group. On one side you have methyl group, CH3. On the other side you have isopropyl. What is isopropyl? It's a 3-carbon chain attached to the oxygen atom on the second carbon. See, linkage is on second carbon. This is isopropyl group. This is isopropyl methyl ether. Now what's the best method? Okay, to find it out, let us bring in the rule that we have studied. What is the rule? It says bulky R group. Of the two R groups, this is one R group, this is another. Of the two R groups, whichever is bulky, that should form the alkoxide. Okay, so bulky R group alkoxide. Now ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರಿತಾ ಇದೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, carefully observe this. Bulky R group becomes alkoxide, smaller R group becomes alkyl halide, or should be obtained from alkyl halide. So between isopropyl and methyl, which is bulky, let's verify. This is isopropyl, and this is methyl. All of you can easily make out isopropyl is bulky and methyl is less bulky, smaller group. Yes. Now let's apply the rule. Bulky group, that is isopropyl, must become the alkoxide. So you should take isopropyl alkoxide or isopropoxide. CH3CH O minus Na plus isopropoxide made to react with which is a small group? Methyl bromide or chloride, whatever is given. Okay, so this must be the correct combination, isopropoxide and methyl bromide. ಯಾವ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸೇಸ್ methanol and isopropyl alcohol, wrong. Second option, it gives methanol, again wrong. Third option, smaller methyl group is taken as alkoxide, that is wrong. Look at the fourth option, smaller methyl group is taken as iodide, alkyl halide. The larger isopropoxide is taken as alkoxide. So option 4 fits into this explanation. Therefore here the correct answer is option 4. Okay, so small group becomes the alkyl iodide, small group becomes alkyl iodide, and bulky group becomes alkoxide. That is what is followed here. Okay, mark it as an important question. This is an important question for your entrance exams. Okay, that was question number 25, methods of preparation. Let's proceed further. Hope you have taken it down, all of you. Next slide. Question number 26. The reaction between CH3 thrice CBr, tertiary butyl bromide, this is it. CH3, 3 such groups attached to a carbon atom, tertiary butyl bromide, made to react with alkoxide CH3CH2O minus Na plus. Okay, so here you have a tertiary alkyl halide and an alkoxide. So will it give you ether? Remember, here the larger R group, the bigger R group, this is bulky. The bigger bulky R group should have been the alkoxide. Adu alkoxide ಆಗಿರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. But it is taken as an alkyl halide, which means this will not give you ether as a major product. Ether will not be the major product here because the bulky group is not part of alkoxide. I repeat, bulky group is not part of alkoxide. Only when the bulky group is part of alkoxide, that can attack the smaller alkyl halide and give you the ether as product, But because bulky alkyl group is Now part of alkyl halide, this will not give you ether. So you have taken a wrong combination of reagents. If you take a wrong combination of reagents, what will be formed instead of ether? You'll get an alkene. You'll get alkene. Let's see which alkene is formed. This tertiary butyl bromide undergoes dehydrohalogenation. Okay, so this undergoes dehydrohalogenation. See, CH3, CH3. I write this as CH2, which is CH3, and Br. In presence of alkoxide, ethoxide, which acts as a strong base, you have dehydrohalogenation taking place. H and B are gone, so you'll get a double bond now. You actually get an alkene. CH3, C, CH3, and you'll now have double bond between these two carbon atoms. Double bond CH2. This is an alkene you get. This is the product you get. Okay, so the product here is CH3, C, CH3, double bond CH2. So you actually end up getting alkene instead of ether. Why did this happen? This happened because you have taken bulky R group, bigger R group, as part of alkyl halide. Okay, if you have to get ether, then bigger R group, bulky R group must be taken as alkoxide. So the correct answer is, option B. That's where you get an alkene. Option B. Good. That's about methods of preparation. Let's proceed further. Physical properties, you should know. Ethers cannot form hydrogen bonds with other ether molecules, but they can form hydrogen bonds with water. They form hydrogen bonds with water molecules. Ethers have boiling points less than that of corresponding alcohols. Ethers less boiling point than corresponding alcohols. Because alcohols show hydrogen bonding, ethers don't. Okay, ethers are quite soluble in water because of their ability to form hydrogen bonds. This is about physical properties of ethers. Next, we'll proceed further. Question number 27. This is a question on physical property of ether. The compound in which hydrogen bonding is not possible is, you have to see in which case hydrogen bonding is not possible. Ethanol, there is hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding possible. Okay. Water, we very well know, intermolecular hydrogen bonding is possible. Acetic acid, also hydrogen bonding is possible. Whereas in ethers, no hydrogen bonding. No intermolecular hydrogen bonding, because in ethers, hydrogen atom not directly attached to oxygen. Not directly attached to oxygen atom. Not directly attached to oxygen atom. Okay. Whereas in all the other options, option 2, option 3, option 4, hydrogen atom is directly attached to oxygen. In ethers, there are hydrogen atoms, there is oxygen atom, but the two are not directly attached. So ethers don't show hydrogen bonding. That's the option. That's the answer. Yes. Now going to the next section, that is chemical properties of ethers. Yes. Chemical properties of ethers. Ethers are relatively inert. Ethers are relatively inert. Ethers inert, but they can be made to undergo reactions with hot concentrated HI. Okay, hot concentrated HI, hydroiodic acid, that can cleave ethers. So ROR, see, it gives you RX, one of the R groups takes up X, the other R group takes up, the other OR group together takes up H. So end up getting an alcohol and haloalkane. Okay. But remember, if HX is in excess, if HX halogen acid is in excess, we all know alcohol is converted to haloalkane again by HX. Therefore, 1 mole of ether is giving you 2 moles of haloalkane. 2 moles of haloalkane is obtained. Okay. But in the exam, you should be careful. ಇದೆರಡನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಗಮನಿಸಬೇಕು ನೀವು. ಏನದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, check whether 1 mole HX is given or 2 moles HX is given. If 1 mole HX is given, acid is in excess. We all know alcohol is converted to haloalkane again by HX. Therefore, 1 mole of ether is giving you 2 moles of haloalkane. 2 moles of haloalkane is obtained. Okay. But in the exam, you should be careful. ಇದೆರಡನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಗಮನಿಸಬೇಕು ನೀವು. ಏನದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, check whether 1 mole HX is given or 2 moles HX is given. If 1 mole HX is given, then the products would be alkyl halide and alcohol. Okay. If 2 moles HX or excess, the word excess is there, then the product will be 2 moles of haloalkane only. You won't get alcohol. Alcohol is not obtained. So this part you should remember. This part please remember. In the exam, you can be tested on these two conditions: limited amounts of HX, excess HX, or 1 mole HX or 2 moles HX. Okay. Right. Now, if the ethers are symmetrical, we have no problem in finding out the products. Ether symmetrical agidre, any R group will go to halogen forming alkyl halide, and any R group will stay with forming alcohol. But the problem arises if the ethers are unsymmetrical, ethers with 2 different alkyl groups. How do we cope up with this idea of ethers with 2 different alkyl groups? See, 2 different alkyl groups. Then how do you decide which R group forms the alkyl halide, which R group forms the alcohol? Okay. Now for that, please pay attention to this important idea here. This is very, very important. Very important. What is it? When the given ether has primary or secondary alkyl groups, if the given ether has primary and secondary alkyl groups, then lower alkyl or smaller alkyl becomes the alkyl iodide. Smaller alkyl group becomes alkyl iodide, and larger alkyl group becomes alcohol. And larger alkyl becomes the alcohol. Listen to this carefully. I repeat it again. If your ether has a primary alkyl group, we all know how to recognize primary and secondary alkyl groups, correct? So if your ether has primary or secondary alkyl groups, then upon reaction with HI, the smaller R group forms the halide, that is iodide, and the larger R group forms the alcohol. Simple. Okay. So let's check out one example. Norna. Hope you have taken down this rule. Please write it down. Okay. Now we'll check out an example. I'll pause for a couple of seconds. Okay, next. Next rule is, when one of the alkyl group is tertiary, if your ether contains a tertiary alkyl group, then it gets completely reversed. Then the tertiary group forms the halide. The larger tertiary group forms the halide, smaller group forms alcohol. Smaller group forms alcohol. Okay. Now, so look at this example. This is an ether with one tertiary group. This is tertiary alkyl. And this is methyl, smaller group. So if your ether contains tertiary alkyl group, so what is the observation here? It forms the halide. So this forms the alkyl iodide, tertiary halide, tertiary alkyl halide, or to be precise, tertiary alkyl iodide. And smaller methyl group forms the alcohol, methyl alcohol. Methyl alcohol. Very good, important. Okay. Similarly, aromatic ethers can also be cleaved. Aromatic ethers are cleaved in such a way that the lone pair on oxygen takes up H and forms phenol. This is always the product, no other product at all. And RX attacks R, you get RX, halaalkane. Yes. So if you cleave aromatic ethers, you end up getting phenol with HI. Okay. Yes. Please copy it down. Next slide. I'll go to the next slide. Okay. This is the last category of reactions of ethers. These are electrophilic substitution reactions of aromatic ethers. That is ethers with a benzene ring. So remember, in an ether, the alkoxy group attached to the benzene ring. The alkoxy group attached to the benzene ring is exerting plus R effect. 1 second. Yes, would exert plus R effect. Positive resonance effect. At the same time, it is highly activating, ring activating. It is ring activating. And look at the directing influence. Where will it direct or lead the incoming electrophile? It will lead it to ortho and para position. So it's ortho and para directing. Ortho and para directing. Yes. So accordingly, you have halogenation. You take bromine in ethanoic acid as solvent, you get ortho bromo anisole and para bromo anisole. This compound is called anisole. You carry out nitration using nitrating mixture, you get the nitro compounds. Of course, always para product is major when compared to ortho product. Then you have Friedel-Crafts alkylation, Friedel-Crafts acylation, which we have studied many times. Okay, this is about chemical properties of ethers. You find these reactions in your NCERT textbook as well. Okay, yes. Right, now let's look at the last couple of questions for ethers, chemical properties. Question number 28. There is a reaction given. You are supposed to find out what is Y in this reaction. This is what needs to be found out. What is Y? Okay. So take the sequence of reactions now. First, C2H5I plus NaOC2H5. So here you have an alkyl halide made to react with sodium alkoxide. This has to be Williamson's ether synthesis. First step is Williamson ether synthesis. Okay, so you end up getting diethyl ether. This ethyl group and this ethoxy group would get connected. So it is C2H5O, C2H5, diethyl ether plus NaI plus sodium iodide. Plus sodium iodide. Yes. Okay, that is compound X. Diethyl ether is compound X. Now this diethyl ether is made to react with HI. Next step. C2H5O C2H5. Okay. Made to react with 2 moles HI. Plus, please observe this. It's given 2 moles HI. So let's see what the product will be if it's 2 moles HI. If it's 2 moles HI, we all know you will only get alkyl iodide. No alcohol is formed. Now, what is that alkyl iodide? C2H5, C2H5 with iodine. You get C2H5I. How many moles now? 2 moles. And what's the other product? Water, H2O. So this is how the reaction occurs. So what is the 2 moles that you've got here? It is Y. 2 moles of Y. So Y here is ethyl iodide. Y is ethyl iodide. C2H5I. So the correct option is option 2. Ethyl iodide. Yes. So copy it down. It's an important question. This involves both Williamson's ether synthesis and cleavage of ethers. Okay. Let me now go to the next question. Question number 29. There is one ether given which has benzene ring also in it. What happens when this is treated with HI? What is the product that you get when this is treated with HI? Check Marna. We'll check it out. Okay. Yes. I'll rewrite it. This is a benzene ring. This also is a benzene ring. Okay. So when it is treated with HI, you know what's the first thing that happens? HI. The lone pair on oxygen here abstracts a proton. It takes up this H plus. This electron goes to I. So this is what you get. Benzene ring, O attached to CH2, in turn attached to one more benzene ring. One more benzene ring, okay? But this oxygen has now a new hydrogen atom coming from HI, okay? But because oxygen has donated lone pair, it would acquire a positive charge. Now, I minus has to attack one of these. I minus has to attack one of these carbons. There are two options. Let me mark that. Let me show that to you in a different color. I minus can attack this carbon atom of benzene ring, or it can attack this sp3 carbon. Remember, benzene ring will not undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction. So, I minus will not attack the carbon of benzene ring. I repeat, benzene ring or aromatic compounds will not undergo nucleophilic substitution easily. So I minus will not attack this carbon atom of benzene ring. Instead, it will attack this sp3 hybridized carbon atom. So I minus will attack this carbon. So these electrons will move back to oxygen. So see what are the products we get? Benzene ring, O with phenol. We got phenol plus, look at the other product, benzene ring attached to CH2, then I minus attack the sp3 carbon. So you get benzyl iodide. You get benzyl iodide. So when this ether is treated with HI, let's identify what the product is. Let's see if there is phenol here. Yes, phenol is there. Phenol is there. Do you have benzyl iodide? Option A, it's toluene. No. Option B is benzyl alcohol. No. Option C is iodobenzene. No. So benzyl iodide is not there, but phenol is there. So at least one product is given here, right? So option D must be our correct answer. Option D, which is phenol, one of the products. The other product is benzyl iodide, but that is not given in the options. In the options, you don't have benzyl iodide. Okay, good. That is question number 29. Now we come to the last question in ethers. 30th question, last question under ethers. Anisole on treatment with nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid gives. This is nitration reaction. This is nitration of anisole. Nitration of anisole. And you know this, we discussed this in the synopsis part as well. If anisole is nitrated, what is anisole? Methoxybenzene is anisole. Methoxybenzene is anisole. If it is nitrated using concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid, you'll have nitration taking place at the benzene ring. What are the preferred positions? The preferred positions are the ortho position and the para position. So you get a mixture of an ortho substituted product and a para substituted product. That is ortho nitroanisole, OCH3, nitro group at the ortho position. Nitro, just a second. and para nitroanisole. So the correct answer is option C, ortho and para nitroanisole. Yes. So dear students, with this we complete our alcohols, phenols, ethers chapter. So far, how many chapters we have completed? We have completed the 2 first year organic chemistry chapters, basic concepts in organic chemistry and hydrocarbons, and we have completed 2 second year organic chemistry chapters, haloalkanes, haloarenes, and then alcohols, phenols, ethers. Okay. So now we'll move on to another uh, important second year organic chemistry chapter, and it's quite a big chapter. Okay, it deals with these carbonyl compounds, aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acids. So just give me a minute, I will get the PPT uploaded. So please practice questions from alcohols, phenols, ethers from whichever book you are following.